The body never lies. Hello everyone, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel. I make videos to inspire you to be the star of your own life. So I've been hesitating making this video for a while now. I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this or if I wasn't, and I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to sit down and I'm just going to film this. So I want to talk a little bit about feminine energy and body image in the media and within ourselves, and I also want to talk a little bit about my own personal body image journey. I'm going to talk a little bit about my own story, my own situation, and give you a little update first, and then I'm going to get into a little bit about feminine energy, the way bodies are represented in the media, and things like that. Before I get started, a few disclaimers. One, I want to make it very clear that nothing that I say in this video is meant to endorse obesity. It's not meant to endorse an unhealthy lifestyle. I'm going to get into more about that when I talk a little bit more about body image in the media. However, I want to make sure I make that clear because I feel like when you start talking about women's bodies and body image and things like that, everybody wants to jump to, well, you're just promoting obesity. And that's not what I'm doing at all at any point in this video. So I want to make that very clear up front. Another disclaimer that I want to make, because I am going to share a little bit about my own story, a little update about where I am in my body image journey. And I want to make it very clear, because I know some people are going to say this, I'm very aware that I don't owe anybody an explanation about my body. I want to talk about this because body image and body confidence and stuff has been a part of my message and my platform, and I have gained a lot of followers, particularly on Instagram, but some here on YouTube. You know, it has been a part of my story, and I want to share with people kind of where I am in that space. I also say that because I want to make it very clear to the people watching, you don't owe anybody an explanation about your body and how your body has changed, where you are in your body image journey, where you are in your weight, where you are in your health. Like, you don't owe anybody an explanation about that. It's your personal experience, it's your personal journey. I don't want anybody to watch this and think because I'm sharing my story or sharing about this, that means that you owe anybody an explanation about your situation or your story. I just want to talk about it because I hope that people will be able to learn something from my experience and give people an update, because it has been a part of my platform on my social media journey. So that's the main reason I'm sharing it. It is not because anybody owes anybody an explanation about their body, what it looks like, what it used to look like, what it will look like, anything about that. It's your own personal experience and you don't owe anybody any explanation about it. So starting off with a little update about my body image and where I am right now. For those of you that don't know, you might be newer to my content, or maybe this is the first video of mine that you're watching. I have some other videos going into more detail about my struggles with my body image in the past. I'm not going to dive into it too deeply here, but I want to just give a brief summary for those of you that don't know my own personal experience. I have struggled with body image, body dysmorphia, a lot of self-hate since I was very young, really as far back as I can remember. My earliest memory actually was of me, I want to say I was about maybe 4 years old, of like looking in a mirror, rubbing my belly and thinking that I was fat and ugly and just like crying my eyes out. I've always had this deep hatred of my body, and it hasn't manifested in great things throughout my life. I tried my first fad diet at 8 years old. Was a lifetime member of Weight Watchers at age 11. I've always struggled with this. I got to my heaviest weight while I was in college. I was about 21, I would say, and then about 22 to 23, like around that age range, I lost almost 70 pounds. I don't remember the exact number, but it was like between 65 and 70 pounds. And in all honesty, I lost that weight the best way I knew how at the time. In hindsight, probably was not the safest way for me to lose it in order for it to be sustainable, but it was the best I could do with the information that was in front of me at the time. And I wasn't using diet pills. I have tried those in the past. I don't recommend them at all. I had horrible experiences with diet pills, and I did not take them. I had 2 experiences with diet pills. It took for a very short period of time, and they didn't go well. So any of those diet pill shortcut things I don't recommend at all. I lost the majority of my weight at that point in my life through Weight Watchers. I did Weight Watchers again as an adult. At the time, it made sense. I ate less, I exercised more. I was very active, but I was very, very active, and I was exercising a lot. I was working out. I was in college. I had 2 part-time jobs, one that was on my feet all day and one that was actually like working in a dance studio. So I was actually like physically dancing for hours a day. So I was very active even when I was at my heaviest weight. My diet was terrible, although honestly my diet really wasn't any worse than any other 21-year-old at the time. My body just held on to the weight so tightly, which partly was genetics, partly was because I had been on this roller coaster ride of going up and down in weight at that point for most of my life and most of my childhood. Looking back on it, when I did lose the weight, I mean, I was still active. I was super active, which was great, but I was definitely not eating enough food, enough nutritional food in order to sustain me. I was like lightheaded and dizzy all the time. Like my blood pressure, my blood sugar, my everything was just like, I looked good dropping the weight. I felt lighter in a lot of ways, but I wasn't really overall healthy per se. I mean, I was healthy in a sense. I didn't have any major health concerns, but it wasn't necessarily the healthiest time in my life when I was at my thinnest. I also didn't really understand a huge amount about strength training. I did do some strength training, but it wasn't my focus. I was mostly focused on cardio. So I leaned out, but I didn't have a lot of muscle. I had like no butt at all. Like I remember getting that skinny and like I still had a belly and I still had these, but like my hip bones were just like jutting out of my hips and I had like no butt, but I was thin. That was all that mattered to me at that time. And so over the course of the years since then, my weight has gone up and down. It's fluctuated. I've gotten heavier, but I had never actually gone back up to the place where I had been before. I hadn't gone down as low as I was when I really dropped the weight, but I kind of hovered in the middle there. But I still really hated my body. I was convinced that the fact that I didn't have abs, that was the reason my life wasn't going the way I wanted it to. I really had this deep hatred of my body. And I've always been active. I've always worked out. I've always tried different exercise routines. I've taken dance classes for years. I got into doing a fitness challenge several years back and just got really focused on getting fit and really training and getting more powerful, and I started to notice changes in my body. And to be honest, the stuff that I was going through in my personal life at the time, I really felt like I needed to be strong, so I really got into lifting weights, and that felt really good. And I think because I was doing that so much, I started to kind of like what I looked like in the mirror. I started to kind of like what I saw. I still had a lot of shame, I still had a lot of issues, but I started to feel more confident. And that's actually when I started posting on Instagram, my lingerie photos, my swimwear photos, things like that. And I started posting and sharing more of my body on Instagram, and I started to feel more and more comfortable with how I looked. Was my body perfect? No. Did I look like an Instagram model? No. I did not have the typical, you know, waist to butt ratio, but I wanted to share my experience of learning to love my body with more people, and I wanted to inspire women to learn to love their body as well. So that's where my Instagram modeling journey took me, and some of you may have followed me from that. And as much as that was about me learning to love myself, when you're that public and you're growing a following and that many people are focused on your body, and because I had made my body such a big part of my platform, it made it difficult. It was conflicting, I'll put it that way. I also started shifting and going through a time in my life. I was going through a divorce. I was going through a lot of family crises, and there was a part of me that felt like I really needed to release and let go. I was changing careers. I was leaving my stand-up comedy career, which had been my life for so many years. I was transitioning into being on social media. I was turning 40. I got this obsession with having this certain body by 40, being obsessed with like, okay, I need to have my perfect body by 40, because I just thought if I don't have the perfect body by 40, I'm just gonna like fall off the wagon and I'm just gonna be a mess. Because of what I was going through at the time, doing a ton of cardio felt very normal to me, because I felt like I was shedding everything that was going on in my life and I was transitioning into something new. I was shedding my old career. I was shedding a really bad marriage. I was shedding in my 30s. Like I was shedding so many things. So I was doing so much cardio. It's embarrassing how much cardio I was doing. And at the time it just felt normal. I got on the treadmill twice a day for an hour. So I was doing 2 hours of cardio a day. And I would just like run, and I'd put on really sad music, and I would just like sweat and cry and run. And it felt therapeutic at the time. I was still lifting weights. So I was lifting weights in the morning. I would do an hour of cardio in the afternoon, an hour of cardio in the early evening. I was dropping calories like you wouldn't believe. I was terrified of carbs. I was trying to go so low in carbohydrates. I was going so low in my macros. I was tracking my macros, but I was going so low. I think back to how much food I was eating. It was like, and I will admit that at the time it didn't really feel like I was depriving myself, because I was specifically choosing foods that fit into my macros that I actually enjoyed eating. So it didn't feel like I was depriving myself, but I have a really serious history with binge eating. I had my binge eating under control to a certain extent, but I would still slip up sometimes. And I really do think that part of that was just because I was hungry. Like, I was doing so much and I was hungry, but it was like, that was the only way I felt like I could get the scale to drop. And it was dropping. And I look back at some of the photos of myself and video and stuff of myself in that time period, and I loved that I was that skinny. I really did. I really, really enjoyed being that thin. I fit into clothes so much better. I mean, I loved being that size. I wasn't underweight by any means based on my height, but what I was doing in order to be that thin was just exhausting. And at a certain point, I couldn't keep doing that. It was like that became my life. I didn't have anything else in my life because I was spending so much time. I was working out 3 times a day and I was hardly eating anything. It was really exhausting. As much as I really liked the way I looked, and I liked that I was lighter weight and everything, it was a lot. And I find it funny because I still had these because they'll get smaller, but they don't go away. It was amazing because I was posting so much on social media, and here I was, the thinnest I've ever been in my entire life at 40. And I was in the best shape. I was the most fit I had ever been in my entire life. And because of these, I had to go up in size to some extent. But I was a solid size 8, which was the thinnest that I'm probably ever going to be with my body shape. And people were calling me plus sized on social media, at least daily. I had so many plus size brands that were reaching out to me that wanted to work with me. And I'd look at their clothes and I'd be like, yeah, their clothes are cute, but I'm not wearing a plus size. But everybody thought that I was plus sized because I didn't have that teeny tiny little waist with the huge butt, and because I had these. So at a certain point it was frustrating because it's like, wait a second, I'm literally like killing myself trying to stay fit and thin, and everyone's still calling me plus sized. I was easing up a little bit on doing all of that stuff after I turned 40 and I kind of hit my goal. I mean, I didn't really hit my official goal weight, but I mean, I was for sure in the best shape that I had ever been in my life. So I started to feel like, I don't know, I wanted to be one of those people. As much as I wanted to be thin, I wanted to be one of those people that could eat like a normal amount of food and still maintain a regular weight. Like, I didn't want to be somebody who felt like they had to constantly be on a treadmill. I had to constantly be tracking everything they were eating. I wanted to be able to eat more effortlessly. And I started reading more about intuitive eating and anti-diet culture stuff, and I ended up following a lot of Stephanie Buttermore's like all-in journey and things like that, and some of it really resonated, some of it didn't. And I am definitely somebody who falls under this weird category of, I'm anti-diet culture, but I also promote healthy eating. And I was trying to take what made sense to me and leave the stuff that didn't. And so I think that the big moment for me was I was reading one of my books, I don't remember which one because I read so many at the time, where they basically said, what is the one food that you fear eating? Like, ask yourself what the first thing that comes to your mind when you look at food that you fear eating, and eat that food. Like, get over that fear. And I sat with that for a minute, and the first thing that came to mind was a banana. And that was a wake-up call for me, because I said, wait a second, I'm not craving junk food. I'm not craving, you know, Doritos or, you know, candy bars or anything like that. Like, I'm literally craving a banana. And I'm afraid to eat a banana because I'm terrified of the carbs, I'm terrified of the sugar. Like, a banana is a completely natural food. It's found in nature. It's a healthy food. Why am I terrified of this? And that was the moment that I knew I had to make a change. And in hindsight, did I do everything the right way? Probably not. Do I wish I had known more now than I did back then? Of course. I wish I'd known what I know now about diet, fitness, exercise, health when I was a kid than what I know now. But I started doing a lot of research, and I decided to kind of do a little bit of an all-in journey. Not exactly, but a little bit, but my own way. I essentially was going to reject diet culture in the sense that I was not going to track my macros. I was literally just going to eat until I felt full, however much that was going to be. I was going to have to be okay with putting on weight, which was terrifying to me, but I was gonna have to be okay with that. I was not gonna over-exercise. I was gonna stop my cardio. I was also going to prioritize healthy foods. And I wasn't gonna buy into that there's no bad foods thing. I was not gonna make any food group to be evil. I was just going to only eat real food. Because I think when we get into this extreme where we get into this, oh, no food is bad food, but it's like, yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that we call food today that isn't food. Like, if you look at some of the things that they sell in the supermarkets that you're supposed to be able to eat, they're not food. Like, it's not actually food that is found in the world that exists. It's just literally like, you know, mixed up together in like a chem lab and served to you as food. So I'm not gonna say I never eat processed food. I do. I very much prioritize the ingredients in foods. I was very careful about what kind of ingredients I was eating. And I was also learning more about some of the things that were better for me than other things, and studying more about the metabolism and things like that. And I went on this journey essentially to heal my metabolism. I knew I was gonna gain weight in doing this. I didn't want to, but I knew I was going to. At the same time I also decided to do this, I went off hormonal birth control. I have a video talking about going off of that. I'm gonna do another video talking about hormonal birth control and stuff like that in a future video, so I'm not gonna get into that too much. But I was going off of that. I was on that for like 20 years, and I was going off of that for the first time. A part of me really was nervous about my hormones getting messed up, so I was like, all right, I just wanna eat intuitively. I'm just gonna eat whatever feels right at the time. I'm gonna eat as much of it as feels right at the time. And I stopped lifting because I really didn't want there to be a lot of inflammation in my body. So I still was moving. I would go for walks sometimes. I would do Pilates and stretching and yoga and things like that. I was doing dance classes, but I was not lifting at all. I took about a year off from doing that. The problem with making that decision, I had this platform on social media where it was all about my body, and I knew my body was gonna change. I really admire people who actually share this stuff and talk about this stuff on social media, like Stephanie Buttermore talked about her journey. She shared the whole process. She had a lot of hate for it. She also had a lot of support for it. Like, I respect people that do that. I knew myself well enough to know that if I started trying to document this process and this journey, and I started sharing this stuff, I knew I would become obsessed with it looking a certain way. And I also knew that I was probably not going to be able to detach as much from the critics and from people who had opinions about things. And so I chose to not document it and share it. I've mentioned this here and there on Instagram, but I haven't really ever talked about this on YouTube. I just felt like I didn't want my platform to only be about my body and how my body looked anymore. I couldn't really fit into a lot of the lingerie and things that I have, because these are the first thing that grow on me. I swear to God. And I know everybody thinks that, oh, that must be so great. It's really not. I just kind of made the decision that I was just not going to post as much lingerie stuff. I just wasn't going to share as much of my body because it was going through changes, and I didn't want the public scrutiny. In general, most people haven't really said much about it. I've just sort of transitioned into more videos and doing more talking. I get the occasional comment here and there, like on YouTube, because I do know if you do look back on all my YouTube videos and my whole YouTube journey, you can see my weight go up and down a lot. So, and occasionally people comment about it. It is what it is. I'm an ever-evolving, ever-changing being. I do know I get called names a lot on TikTok, because most of the people on TikTok really only know me looking this way, because my platform on TikTok is newer. Whereas here on YouTube or on Instagram, my weight has gone up and down, so people have been with me more. I do also think it's interesting because I choose to do more videos where I'm talking to you, because I really wanted my platform to be more about what I had to say as opposed to just being about my body. But I also gain all of my weight from the waist up. So as much as I'm like, okay, I don't want this to be about my body, I realize that like my face, these, my arms, everything are where I carry most of my weight. So as much as I've had to go up in like clothing sizes and bra sizes because that's where I carry my weight and stuff, my jackets just don't fit anymore. These, I just can't. But like, I'm still wearing the same size leggings. I'm still wearing the same size underwear. Like, I'm like the only person that people keep criticizing online for being overweight that is like desperately trying to grow her butt in the gym. Like, that's just, it just is what it is, right? About a year ago, I'd say almost a year ago next month, I decided to start lifting again. And I figured, you know what? I'm eating more food. My weight has kind of evened out. The weight I am now has been pretty steady for the past year. I'm not gaining, I'm not hungry anymore. I haven't had a binge eating, like even a craving to binge eat, probably since I even started this journey, or at least since I kind of, my eating kind of evened out a little bit. I do eat a lot of food. I eat very clean. I eat very healthy. I'm going pro-metabolic, so I do a lot of things that are beneficial to my metabolism. But I don't have any cravings. I don't have any cravings to eat between meals. I don't have any cravings to binge eat. I don't have any emotional eating anymore. It's just not there anymore. Am I a little worried that if I start to cut calories that might come back? Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, and if it does, I'll just have to deal with it. But I am lifting again. I'm starting to build some muscle. You can't see with my dress, but you know, I do go through phases too where I'm just like, oh, it'll be really great if I just leaned out a little bit, and I want to get back into my like cardio bunny addiction thing. But I know this is the best thing for my body. Another reason why I hesitate even like sharing stuff about my body and stuff is because like, I'm not obese. My weight is not in an obese range for my height medically, whether you believe in the obesity weight range as being accurate or not. I know there's debate about that, but I'm not considered medically obese. I am considered overweight right now for somebody who's my height. There's a part of me that feels like, okay, well, everybody thought I was plus sized when I was like an 8. So now that I'm a few sizes higher than that, I technically am plus size. I'm in the lower range of plus size dresses, but I am still plus size, which again, there's nothing wrong with being plus size. I'm not shaming anybody for their weight. Like, you are where you are in your journey. But now I feel like if I show, because I see girls who are so much smaller than I am, who are in such a healthy weight range, who get called obese online all the time, and I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I just don't want to put myself in that position right now. There is a part of me that feels bad because I was so much an advocate of loving your body, having body confidence, feeling beautiful in your skin at any size for so long, and then my body changed and I started to, like, I stopped doing that. Do I love my body? Yes. I treat my body with love every day. Am I thrilled that I am this size and this weight right now? No. Is it a challenge sometimes to look at my body with love? Yes. I also know that what I'm doing right now is a process. It's a season that I'm in. I'm honoring this season, and I'm choosing every day to show up and show my body the love that it deserves. I feed it healthy foods. I move my body because it deserves it. I treat my body with love. I touch my body with love. I do all these things with love because I love my body. Even when I look in the mirror and don't always like what I see, I still treat my body with love, and I think that's important. And that's a message that I want to get across, that I want everybody to do that. I don't care where you are. I don't care what your body looks like now. I want you to treat your body with love. I've been in that place so many times in my life where I have lost weight or gotten fit or gotten in shape from a place of self-hate. And sometimes I've achieved it. Sometimes I've achieved it for a good period of time. But it always catches up with you because it's not from a place of love. And when you treat your body in a way that is loving, in that you give it foods that nourish it, you give it quality foods that nourish it, you give yourself enough food in order to power you through the day so you can get through the day and do what you love, in moving your body in ways that you love and finding ways to keep your body moving and make your body strong from a loving place. It's just better overall, because love can always grow, whereas self-hatred and stuff is just going to deteriorate you over time. It's going to start getting into harmful activities. You're going to start to do things that are not loving towards your body. And I understand that we have an obesity epidemic in this country. I actually talked a little bit about this in my feminism video, about some of the reasons why I think that we're having an obesity crisis, but I'm not going to get into all that. But I know that there's an obesity crisis. People overall are very overweight and very out of shape. People are not taking care of their bodies. And I understand people who want to wake people up and want to get people inspired to treat their body with love and in a healthy way. I understand that. I also think it's important too to teach people the right way to do that. And now moving into a little bit more about how the media represents body and body image. When you put the message out there, which a lot of people are doing, which I think is unfortunate, thin is always better, and getting thin at any cost is always better. You're gonna lead people to do some really unhealthy things in order to get thin, in the false name of health. I mean, meth addicts are thin. You're trying to tell me that because a meth addict is thin, that they're in better health than I am because I'm overweight right now. You can't tell me that. That's not the case. That's not true. So when we have this false idea that everyone who is thin is automatically healthier, it's really dangerous. I actually remember years ago, I remember I worked at the gym, I had this personal trainer. He was a very fit guy, and his girlfriend worked at the gym. I think she worked at the daycare or something. And I remember him telling me that like everybody would say to him like, oh, you must be training your girlfriend. She looks like she's in such great shape. And he was like, no. He's like, my girlfriend's thin. She's naturally thin. She is in one of the worst shapes I've ever known. Like she can't do anything. Like she is so not physically fit. He's like, I'm always trying to get her to work out. I'm trying to get her to be healthier because I want her to be healthy. She doesn't think she needs to because she's just thin. Like it's, and again, this is a personal trainer. It's professional. Like he's professionally gauging people's fitness levels, and he's like, no, just because she's thin, everybody thinks because she's thin she's automatically healthier. I know people who are a lot bigger than her that are in so much better shape and in much better health than her, and I'm always trying to get on her case about that. I don't know if they stayed together or not. I don't know. They started working somewhere else, so I don't know. I have no idea where their relationship went or whatever happened with them. But yeah, we need to stop making this mentality of thin is always healthier. It's not always healthier. And I don't say that to promote obesity, because my message here is very much about women embracing their feminine energy. I really do believe that to embrace your feminine energy, that you do need to love your body, and you need to love your body the way it is now. Doesn't mean you can't evolve and change. It doesn't mean you can't have goals for your body, but you need to love your body in whatever form it is now. The feminine is the body. The masculine is the mind. The feminine is the body. As a feminine being, that means that you treat your body with love. You don't pump your body full of junk and, you know, full of crap that isn't even food just because like it feels good in the moment. Like you're not, that's wounded feminine. That's wounded feminine energy when you're just like, this tastes good, I'm gonna eat it, I'm gonna eat as much as possible. Wounded feminine is, I'm going to stuff my face. Binge eating is wounded feminine. All those things are wounded feminine energy. The feminine loves and respects her body and nourishes her body in the way that is going to best serve her. The feminine is always moving and flowing, so she's not sedentary with her body. She's always moving and flowing. She finds ways of moving that feel good for her. Dancing, very feminine activity. I'm not of the thinking that you need to do a certain type of fitness routine. Are there certain activities fitness-wise that are more masculine and are more feminine? Yes, absolutely there are. However, with most activities, there's a masculine aspect and there's a feminine aspect. So when you're choosing a workout routine, it's really important to find the workout that fits for you. The best workout is the one that you're gonna do. Plain and simple. For example, dancing is very feminine. So if you want to connect to your feminine, doing something like some kind of dance, really any form of dance, that will connect you to your feminine. Things like weightlifting, yeah, they are more masculine, but you can approach them from a masculine or a feminine perspective. Same with Pilates, the same with yoga, the same with anything really. The masculine is the structure. It's the amount of time you do things, it's the amount of reps you do things, it's the structure. The feminine is the feeling, it's in the body. So if you want to do weightlifting, which I lift, I love lifting weights. Like I love feeling powerful and feeling strong. Connects me to my huntress energy, like I love that. The structure of being like, if you're like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, like the counting, the structure of your routine, all those things, like I'm gonna do this many sets for this many reps. That's all masculine. If you don't want to connect to your masculine energy, you can outsource those things to a trainer or something like that. Doing the actual exercise, feeling into your muscle, like as you do the bicep curl, which I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, this for my bicep right here. Feeling into your muscle, feeling into your body, that's your feminine energy. So it's a stereotype. I see a lot of people, it's like, I can't lift weights, I'll be masculine. That's not what it is. Having muscle does not make you masculine. That's not what it is. It's the energy behind things. Another aspect of respecting your feminine is respecting your feminine hormones. Huge, huge thing. You want to respect your feminine hormones. That means you don't starve yourself. Starvation, starving yourself, any kind of eating disorder around like depriving yourself is typically wounded masculine. Starvation diets, anorexia, those things tend to be wounded masculine because they tend to be more about control. It can be wounded feminine in a sense of actually trying to harm yourself. Usually when you start getting into that kind of thing, there's sort of a wounded masculine, wounded feminine thing going on for both. However, eating in a way that protects your feminine hormones, honoring your feminine cycle, which I'm actually going to do some content about the menstrual cycle because I've had some requests on that, but honoring your feminine cycle with your workouts, not starving yourself, not pushing your body fat to get so low that you lose your menstrual cycle or that you just screw up your hormones. Like eating in a way and moving in a way that honors your feminine hormones, that's honoring your feminine energy. Honoring the health of your body is very feminine. I don't want anybody to think that if you get into your feminine energy that like you don't work out, that you eat whatever you want. Like, yes, the feminine is all about pleasure and we want to find pleasure in those activities. We also want to honor our health because honoring our health and our hormones is honoring the feminine. It's honoring the nature of our feminine. Eating things found in nature. The feminine is nature. We're literally nourishing ourselves with nature. All those things are very important. One thing that I really want to address is the concept of what it means to be feminine in the media and sort of like the feminine body image. For probably as long as media has existed, women have been manipulated into having to fit a certain look, and it's usually a look that is very difficult to achieve without having to spend a lot of money because the media is trying to get women to buy stuff and they're trying to make money. So they convince women that they are not good enough in their natural form, in their natural state, in order to make money. I always say this, it just boggles my mind that like, you know, nature designed us to want to procreate. They designed men and women to be attracted to each other so we would get together and mate so we would procreate. Why would nature create women in a way that we needed to be surgically altered? We needed to be, I mean, I wear makeup and stuff like that, but we needed to be completely changed in order to attract a masculine partner. So the fact that we have to jump through all these hoops to supposedly be attractive to men is kind of ridiculous because like nature wanted men and women to be attracted to each other. That's kind of why they made women different so that men were enticed by our differences. Like that's, I could go on a whole rant about that. I'm not going to. If you notice over the course of history, in the media, the way that women are portrayed, it shifts and changes. Like what we idolized in the 90s is different than what we idolize now. Very drastically different, in fact, and we act as if that's the only type of attractive that there is. Yeah, in the 90s supermodels were completely like devoid of curves. They were literally straight up and down. And now it's like if women don't have these huge like BBL butts, they're just considered gross. It's like, oh my god, she's a flat butt. Like that's disgusting. It's like, well, a woman with a flat butt would have been a supermodel in the 90s. So if that is an indication that this whole thing is completely arbitrary, I don't know what else is, but a part of the problem is the media has been portraying this completely unrealistic standard of beauty. It's essentially trying to make grown women look like little girls, to have zero body fat. In some cases, some of these women are so skinny and have such little body fat that there's really no way that these women are having normal menstrual cycles. They're certainly not nourishing their body in any kind of healthy way. We argue that men are attracted to these women because they're more fertile, but like women who are living on a diet of cigarettes so that they can stay skinny, not exactly the most fertile people out there, right? We have this whole idea that has been put in our minds from a very young age of what an attractive woman is supposed to be, and we get so far away from what women were intended to look like because that's not going to make anybody money, right? So because the media has been pushing these completely unrealistic standards of beauty as far as thinness being the priority over everything, which is not really healthy. You know, we talk about wanting people to be healthy, but when you are trying to be thin over everything, like that is your only priority and your only goal, you're probably not doing it in a healthy way. You're not doing things that are in your best interest of health. I was just hearing about this new trend in Hollywood. I don't want to get into this too much, but this new trend in Hollywood of these like fat loss injections that people are getting, and they actually are known to cause cancer. So this idea of thinness over everything, not healthy. Media has shifted another direction, and is now starting to put women who are classified as being obese on the covers of magazines and touting that like it's healthy at any size. I get really frustrated with this. And the reason I get frustrated with this is because I feel like nobody sees what's actually going on here. The magazines can do this because they are like, hey, you've been saying that we've only been putting these super thin models on the cover, so now we're gonna show diversity. So they swing the opposite way and put people who are probably not in a healthy weight range for their height and their size and their overall build on the cover and start touting that as health. Well, what does that do? It sells magazines. It gets people talking. Because if magazines started to put women who were actually a normal, healthy size, like a size that was actually appropriate for their weight range, women who were size 6s, size 8s, size 10s, the average size of a woman, and started normalizing bodies that are in a very perfectly normal, healthy weight range for their height, the magazines wouldn't sell. Because no one would be talking about it. Because the people in the magazines would look like everybody else. It would be a completely attainable goal and they wouldn't sell magazines. But what the magazines do by putting these women who are obese essentially, and I'm not knocking these women. Some of these women are absolutely beautiful. I'm not at all trying to shame these women. But people who are probably not in the healthiest weight range, by putting them on the cover, it gets people talking. It'll get people who are overweight talking about it. They'll be buying the magazines, they'll be celebrating it because they'll feel seen. And I do think that people should feel seen and they should feel appreciated and feel like there are other people like them out there, of course. It gets the opposite side talking because it gets a lot of people who are like, but that's not actually healthy. Then those people start weight shaming the people who are overweight. So now you have all these people in the middle, which is where the majority of the people are, right? The majority of the people are in this weight range that's like, you're probably in a healthy weight range, but you feel like you're not healthy because you're being told that thin is the only thing that's healthy. And you start shaming yourself because for most women, they actually believe that they're way heavier than they actually are. So women who are probably, they might even be a little bit overweight, but they're probably just in a healthy weight range for their size. They now feel like they're obese because they don't relate to the women who are super skinny. So now they're starting to think, okay, well, I must be one of these bigger girls. They feel shamed by the people who are shaming the people who are overweight. And I'm not endorsing shaming at all, but I'm saying this is a cycle that's happening. So now you make the people who are women who are perfectly healthy and in a perfectly normal, healthy weight range, you make them feel bad about themselves because they now feel even worse because they're terrified now of being in the obese range, of being shamed for that. You literally stigmatize women who are overweight or obese even more because you have people over there that are shaming them because that's being touted as healthy when it may not actually be healthy. Some of these women might be very healthy, but some of them may not be. We still even with the diversity, so to speak, on the covers of these magazines, we still are pushing this notion that thin at any cost is the right idea and start kind of getting into this convoluted idea that, okay, but being obese should be okay, and we're ignoring the middle, and what we're doing is we're putting women who are in this middle range, we're making them more confused, and they're probably either going to be like, screw it, whatever, I'm just gonna keep gaining weight, and I'm just gonna do whatever. They're gonna give up, and they may actually start letting their health go, which will be great for the pharmaceutical companies, but I'm not gonna get into that argument here. Or they're gonna start starving themselves, and they're gonna feed into the diet industry. It's literally this idea that the magazines are doing this for us or for women. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna put these women who are obese on the cover and we're gonna do it for you. When they're not doing it for you, they're still doing it to make money. It's controversial, so people are gonna buy magazines. They're gonna get publicity, they're gonna get shares, they're gonna get likes, it's gonna be a whole thing on social media. And you're still gonna get the people who argue this to now shame overweight people. So the people who are shaming people who have a little bit of extra weight on them are going to be even more loud and more vocal. So women are going to feel even more pressure to starve themselves into being this ridiculously unhealthy thinness. The fact that so many people can't see what the magazines are doing, they're literally just taking women who are overweight or obese and they're exploiting them for their own gain. And really just in the long run, making the whole fat shaming movement even stronger. It's really sad that we do this. And at the end of the day, I don't think that shame helps. It does not make people make good choices with their life. In the same way that, like, look, I've seen this all the time, and I remember distinctly, I was following this woman who was gorgeous woman who was very overweight. She was going to the gym, she was regularly working out, she was trying to get healthy. And I remember her talking about that she was struggling with one of her workout machine or something at the gym, and she made this video where she was crying because she was struggling with this, and there were a bunch of girls who were like laughing at her. And she was like, you know, I know that I look awkward, I know I look weird, I know I'm showing up at the gym, I know people are looking at me, they're judging me, but I want to get healthy. And it doesn't help if we shame people for where they are if they're trying. Because if you shame people when they're trying to get healthy, it's like people got all upset when, I don't know, one of the brands or something came out with fitness wear for plus-sized women, and everybody was all upset about that. It's like, okay, but if you want plus-sized women to get in shape and get healthy, they need clothes. Like, they can't go to the gym naked. That's illegal. So you need to have clothes for people who are different shapes and different sizes. And the fact that we use people who are probably not in a healthy weight range as an example of healthy can be at any size, and we're not using women who are in a healthy weight range but look like normal women, they don't look like supermodels, that's the problem. That's the problem where we are. We're still caught up in these extremes. And I'm not saying that the women who are these you know, plus size models, or the women who are obese or they're putting on the cover, I'm not shaming them at all. They're beautiful women. They deserve love. They deserve to be seen. They deserve everything. They absolutely do. In the same way that women who are naturally thin don't deserve to be shamed for being naturally thin, although I don't really believe thin shaming is a thing, but that's a whole other story. But we're still looking at the extremes, and we're still trying to make the women who are actually probably very healthy and in a very healthy, safe weight range feel bad about themselves. So then they start starving themselves, or they start being like, forget it, I give up, I'm never gonna look like the skinny woman, I'm just gonna throw it all away, and I'm just gonna eat the junk food, because why bother? You aren't actually encouraging a healthy lifestyle by exploiting either the thin at any costs people, or the claiming that obesity is actually the new healthy. Neither of those things is actually healthy for women in general. And I get so frustrated, because I'm like, I don't know why more people can't wake up and see this, because as women, it is so destructive to us. It's destructive to our bodies, because so many women are doing things that are not safe and healthy and not honoring our bodies. It breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart especially for young girls, because I know what it was like to be a young girl and go through all of this confusion, and to be comparing myself to the people in the media, and I mean now with social media, which wasn't a thing when I was a kid. I feel really bad for the young girls who are going to grow up with this disordered eating. I was actually just talking to a friend of mine the other day about the fact that, you know, so many of us girls grew up with such disordered eating habits. We jacked up our metabolism, and now we wonder why as adults we're in this constant yo-yo dieting cycle, why we're starving ourselves and then we're gaining the weight back, and we can't figure that out. And I want to see women love themselves and to thrive. I want to see women take ownership over their health, and I want them to also not feel like there's only one way to look healthy, but I also want them to prioritize their health. I want people to reject diet culture and this idea, because diet culture is actually usually pushes a whole lot of fake foods, a whole lot of deprivation, a whole lot of things that are really not feminine at all. But I also don't want women to reject that culture so much that they just stuff themselves full of poison that you see on the supermarket shelves half the time. And I want to see women actually embracing putting foods into their body that are good for them. I want them to start feeding themselves with nourishing foods, enough nourishing foods to support their hormones, and to actually take ownership over your health and not be striving for this particular look, and not striving for this, oh my god, if you can't see my ab muscles, then I'm not perfect. But also not feeling like, well, screw it, if I can't look like a supermodel, then I'm just gonna binge eat all night and just, you know, throw my health out the window. And I want to see women embrace that. I want to see women celebrated when they're making healthy choices with their life, and not obsessing over their looks, but being able to look in the mirror and saying that they feel beautiful and that they love themselves. And that's what I want to see. That's what I hope for everyone, every woman watching, every woman listening. That's what I hope for you. I want people to also wake up and realize that what you're being told in the media, what the media is showing you, what they're presenting to you, it's not real. It's all with an agenda. It's all for them to make money, follow the money. You'll probably figure out who's at the top. And I want people to know that you don't have to look a certain way in order to be feminine. I think that's a big misconception. I see that a lot with a lot of feminine influencers that I follow, people that talk about feminine energy. A lot of them are very thin. A lot of them are very model-like. Like, I'm finally okay with my body. I'm like, yeah, everyone's okay with your body. You look like every other girl in a magazine. And a lot of feminine energy content and stuff shares like stock images, but they're all of these women who are very, very young and very, very thin. If that's naturally how you are, great. Like, I'm not knocking anybody for their body type, but I want people to also know that you can be in your feminine energy and you don't have to be thin. You can be a muscular powerhouse goddess, or you can be, you know, a thin, lean, you know, elegant swan, or you can be curvy bombshell. Your body type and your body shape does not define how feminine you are. And I want women to own that. I want women to know that. You can also be connecting to your feminine energy and be a certain body type, but also want to make changes in your body type. Doesn't mean that you don't love and respect your body. You can be in your feminine energy and be like, hey, I'm not making the healthiest choices with my life, but I want to connect to my feminine and I want to show my body love. So what is the most loving thing for me to do in this moment? What is the most loving thing for me to do to take care of my body? Is it to work out today? Is it to rest today? Is it to eat this food, or is it to eat that food? And really just honoring your body, honoring your feminine body, honoring your feminine hormones, learning to love yourself where you are, and also owning if there's any changes that you might want to make in your body along the way. So I really hope that this message got across. I know I've been talking for a while. I was nervous about making this video and talking about myself and my journey and where I am, and I hope you found this helpful. I really want women to learn to love themselves and to love their bodies, and that's always been a huge part of my message. And even if I'm not sharing as much about my specific body at this time, it doesn't mean that I don't still feel strongly about that. It's been my own personal journey of learning to love and accept myself, and this is just where I am right now. So I hope some of this made sense to you. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. Be sure you subscribe to my channel. If you have any thoughts on this topic, any stories, or any ways you relate to this, let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. Any other topics you'd like me to discuss, I love your suggestions. If you want to learn to connect to your feminine energy, I have online courses, details in the description box below, along with links to all my social media accounts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time.